influential politician who believes in driving positive change, and as a fierce parliamentarian who believes that only changing the law will not bring in the desired changes, but instilling a sense of awareness and enforcement will surely do. He is the right person to speak about where we lag and what we should do. May I request Shri Sujit Kumar to please address the House.
मंत्री भारत सरकार अश्विन वैष्णव जी, माननीय मंत्री ओडिशा सरकार प्रदीप अमात महोदय, माननीय एडवोकेट जनरल ओडिशा अशोक परिजा महोदय, उपस्थित बंधुगण, मीडिया भाई भौणी मैंने समस्त को मो नमस्कार। सर्वप्रथम धन्यवाद देवी नेचर केयर इनिशिएटिव शक्ति बाबू को श्रीकांत बाबू को मत आज ये आमंत्रण कर जून 5 रे पारादीप रे जो होता सेमिनार से भी मुझे भाग नवर सौभाग्य पाई आ बहुत किसी शिखी तेणु आज भी बहुत किसी शिखी ये आशा रखी मुझे श्रीकांत बाबू नेचर केयर इनिशिएटिव विषय में अल्प किसी जानी या पूर्व जड़े वक्ता कही पीआईएल जो एलिफेंट कॉरिडोर विषय आप शुणी ओडिशा रे सबुठु बेसी हाथी मृत्यु होता गोटे पीआईएल फाइल होता सुप्रीम कोर्ट रे आउ Honorable Supreme Court had given certain directions to the Government of India and to the state governments. Our Nature Care Initiative was the pioneer of that PIL. और तांकरी प्रचेष्टा जो आज एलिफेंट करके तांकर ये प्रचेष्टा पे समस्त तरफ मुझे अभिनंदन और धन्यवाद जनाऊँगी। आज जो जातीय कर्मशाला क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड डेवलपिंग रेजिलियंस इन ओडिशा आज ये भुवनेश्वर होची, it can't be more apt than that. Because the person leading the state, none other than the Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik, is known as a man of nature. He is globally acclaimed as a nature lover. And you can see the footprints of climate adaptation and climate mitigation in all the policies of Government of Odisha. And I'll speak briefly about some of these policies. आज सौभाग्य आम सहित अच्छा माननीय मंत्री अश्विन जी ओडिया गोटे कथा अच्छी खजुरी गचर कि गुण गायबी मूलू पाहाच पाहाच अश्विन बाबू आपंकर कि गुण गायबी आ कथा से निजे पार्लियामेंट स्पीच कही पार्लियामेंट स्पीच मुझे वी आर ट्रूली ब्लेस्ड टू हैव ए मिनिस्टर लाइक हिम। ही इज ट्रूली द प्राइड ऑफ द कंट्री। या पूर्व अशोक परिजा बाबू कहते पाकिस्तान फ्लड विषय आप जानी पाखापाखि 2000 मृत्यु होता, billions of dollars. The scale of devastation is unimaginable. United Nations has said that it's the worst ever natural disaster of the 21st century. And almost every observer believes that it is the climate change which is responsible for that flood. World Economics Forum गोटे अच्छी स्विट्जरलैंड जेनेवा रे जो 3 वर्ष कार्य कर सुजोग पाई गोटे सर्वे आसे प्रति वर्ष। Every year they conduct a survey as to what are the 3 major challenges of the globe. Say 2005 रू प्रत्येक वर्ष terrorism and climate change are invariably the 2 most identified challenges facing humanity since 2005. तेणु climate change उपरे जो कर्मशाला आज this is extremely timely, and particularly in a state like Odisha, which is so vulnerable to natural disasters. As you all know, starting I at least do not know about the cyclones pre-99, and the man who led the restoration effort in the 99 super cyclone is here with us. So since 1999 until 2021, we have had 8 cyclones, including 2 super cyclones. 20 वर्ष रे हमारा राज्य रे 8 सुपर साइक्लोन हमें फेस करछु, including 2 super cyclones. Our coastline is 480 kilometers. We are extremely vulnerable to flood, to heat waves, to drought conditions in western part of Odisha. So if there is one state in this country which should discuss the resilience to climate change, it is this state. And if there is one state which has proven that it can come up to the expectation of its citizens in adapting and mitigating the climate, the adverse impact of natural disaster, it is Odisha. आप सब जानी नीति आयोग नीति जातिसंघ नीति वर्ल्ड बैंक पर्यंत समस्ते ओडिशा सरकार the disaster management effort को प्रशंसा करचंती. Thanks to the effort and thanks to the effort and leadership of Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha. Now, it's strange that we are, Odisha is at least not as developed as Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, which are traditionally developed. We are on that path of development. But the per capita emission of carbon dioxide in Odisha is 2.35 metric ton, which is much higher than the national average. I was actually surprised to note this. And as I've told, we have had many natural disasters in the last 20 years, which are fresh in my memory. Now, what are some of the steps which government of Odisha has taken? What are some of the effort of the state government in tackling this? There are many. Honorable Minister Pradip Amat is with us. He is well versed with all the efforts and steps because he himself has been part of all of this as one of the the leading light of Odisha politics. So he will definitely share more light, but I'll just briefly touch on some of them. We were the second state in the country, only the second state in the country to go for a digital budget. And the Honorable former Finance Minister is himself here. So that tells us, when most other developed states were not even thinking of having a digital budget, we had the audacity to go for a digital budget to save tens of thousands of trees rather, from being cut. Now, it's the first state in the country to formulate a climate change action plan way back in 2010. Today, climate change has become a buzzword. Everyone is speaking of climate change. ସମସ୍ତେ ଆଜି climate change କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି. ମନେ ପକାନ୍ତୁ 2010 ରେ କେତେ ଲୋକ climate change କଥା ଜାଣିଥିଲେ? How many states, how many people, how many thinkers, how many politicians were talking of climate change? We were talking of climate change way back in 2010. And not only that, we had a dedicated green climate fund for this. Again, the first state to have a dedicated GCF, Green Climate Fund, of course supported by many multilateral bodies. We are one of the very few states even today to have a dedicated PMU cell to monitor the implementation of the SDG goals. SDG stands for Sustainable Development Goals. So basically, there was something called MDG, Millennium Development Goal, formulated by United Nations. Then that was succeeded by SDG. So there are 17 SDG goals, and our policy today in state of Odisha, the state government's policies are almost aligned with the SDG goals. And one of the very few states in the country where a separate dedicated cell headed by the additional chief secretary, planning and convergence, to look after the SDG goals. And most of the SDG goals revolve around the climate change and its adverse impact and how do we mitigate and adapt to climate change. So that's the seriousness of the state government in responding to climate change and developing resilience. OREDA is a state government agency which has almost saturated the state with biomass plants throughout the state. Massive afforestation. Just last year alone, there was 537,000 hectares of plantation in the state. Again, our afforestation is more than the national average. We have been talking of cyclones. Coastal Odisha, 480 kilometers around coastline. आपण जानतु जेकोसी ब्लॉक को जानतु कोस्टल ओडिशा रे आपण देखिबे ओडी साइक्लोन सेंटर, वर्ल्ड क्लास साइक्लोन सेंटर. आज हमरो पाखपाखी 900, more than 900 we have cyclone shelters dotting the landscape of coastal Odisha. 92,000 volunteers in all these villages and panchayats of coastal Odisha who have been trained to cater to any natural disaster. Okay, I did mention that we were the first state to start a climate change action plan way back in 2010. Did we stop at that? No. Again, the first state to have the second phase of the climate change action plan in 2018, which has a period of 10 years to completely make the state climate resilient by 2030. And then some of the activities under the second phase, please allow me to just read them out. Restoration and conservation of water bodies. We have many water bodies that were lying defunct, but under the second phase of the climate resilient plan, we have the motivation to restore the water bodies, increase the water efficiency, पश्चिम ओडिशा आप जानते पानी सब सर्टेज रोचे आज आप जानतु मु कलाहांडी जिला आसी आप जानतु कलाहांडी 63% ऑफ द इरिगेटेड लैंड इन कलाहांडी इज टुडे 63% of the agricultural land today is irrigated through a complex network of efficient irrigation system. Swachh Bharat in my view is one of the finest examples of public policy initiated by Government of India. We often talk of incremental change when we talk of policy making, but there are certain policies which truly transform the nation, and Swachh Bharat in my view is one of those policies. 3 कोटी परिवार 3 कोटी घरे टॉयलेट तैयारी करबा गोटे छोट कथा नुहे. IHHL लोक सत हसुते जे IHHL हेतला माने मन अछि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जेते अनाउंस करथिले लालकिल्लारू IHHL प्रति घरे गोटे टॉयलेट हेबो. I had read in Washington Post, they were literally mocking प्रधानमंत्री देश को संबोधन करछथि लालकिल्लारू टॉयलेट कथा कहछथि. Just imagine what a game-changing initiative it was. 3 crore toilets, individual household toilets. Yes, बहुत जगह से toilet use होनी, but that's a cultural thing. It will take time. Development always is an ongoing process. It takes time. धीरे धीरे change हबो. किंतु 40% 50% लोग आज use करना start करते हैं. आज आधा गांव हमारा open defecation free गलानी. So that is the kind of change. And in Odisha, we have 70% of our villages open defecation free. We are on the path to be 100% open defecation in the next couple of months. Gotte katha mu kahibi aute self-help group. Odisha is one of the few states which has actively engaged its formidable network of self-help group. आपण मैं जानी थी हमरो 70 लाख मां माने आज मिशन शक्ति रे हम सहित जोड़ी के अछंती. One of the finest again example of women empowerment across the country. माननीय मुख्यमंत्री कर प्रचेष्टा जो आज 70 लाख मां माने पाखापाखि 8 लाख मिशन शक्ति ग्रुप तैयारी करके आज आइसंती कलाहांडी में आइसंती नुआपड़ा जिला आइसंती जानी किसी मास मान के आइसंती से मानन को आज क्लाइमेट सोल्जर हिसाब रे से माने हेले आज ये जो क्लाइमेट चेंज तार ओडिया कोन जानी नहीं किंतु जहां भी उतासी पाई आज से माने सेनापति ही के आज बाहर चलती 80 70 80 लाख मां माने आज क्लाइमेट चेंज वॉरियर्स ही की बाहर चलती. एटा होचे ओडिशा सरकार तो बहुत सुंदर पदक्षेप. समय नहीं मु आउ शेष रे खाली एतिकी कहबी गुटे आ कथा पूर्व कहबी मिलेट मिशन आपण जानि थिबे. This year is being celebrated as the International Year of Millet. Millet is the most climate resilient crop. Odisha Millet Mission आरंभ करते माननीय मुख्यमंत्री 2007 मसीह रे आज से Odisha Millet Mission has become a model not only for other states of India but for 42 countries. 42 countries have studied the Odisha Millet Mission model and have implemented in their respective countries. It's a matter of great pride, not only for us here in Odisha, but for the entire nation, that a model from a state in the country has been implemented by 42 countries. आज Odisha रे पाखापाखि 2 लाख चाषी भाई माने मिलेट चाष करचंती. पाखापाखि लाख हेक्टर देखो चाष होची. पाखापाखि 150 ब्लॉक आज मिलेट कल्टीवेशन हे की पूरा आज देश को पूरा दुनिया को आज गोटे मॉडल आम तैयारी करके देखै पाछु. एंड मिलेट इज द मोस्ट क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट क्रॉप. आज जेतेबेले ओडिशा has become one of the most preferred and attractive destination for investment and for industry, I think time has come for us to ensure that while we grow at a rate of 11%, which is again higher than the national average, India is growing at 7.2. As per IMF, we are growing at over 10%. So as we grow at a much faster pace, I think we should ensure that the growth is not at the cost of our ecosystem, our environment, which is always fragile. So let's all pledge that as citizens of this state, citizens of this country, will ensure that we take care of the environment. और धन्यवाद देवी नेचर का इनिशिएटिव को आज केवल एटा को गोटे थियोरेटिकल सेमिनार सारे करि नांती. आज से माने पाखापाखि 150 जन पंचायती राज इंस्टीट्यूशन सरपंच भाई माने भौणी माने जिला परिषद मेंबर मन आसी चंती. They are invited stakeholders from the industry as well, from the academia, from the political field, from the legal field. The doyen of one of the doyens of the legal fraternity, Mr. Parija is here. So what a great aggregation of people from different walks of life, and I'm sure there will be a lot of learnings from today's workshop. again thank Nature Care Initiative for inviting me and for organizing this wonderful seminar on a very important topic. Thank you.